Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our PbN Payments webinar. Sorry for the delay there, but we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So today this is going to be specifically about our PbN Payments. If anyone has any Stripe connections through PbN, this is not going to be about that, just our PbN Payments specifically. So let's get started. Let me open up the chat just in case anyone has some questions. Feel free to throw them in there. All right. So the first thing that you're going to want to do in regards to PbN Payments is set up what we call our onboarding. So once you've talked to your customer success manager or reached out to our support team, we'll make sure that the PbN Payments is an option for you. And what you'll do is you will go to the person icon up at the top right of the page. You'll go to settings, and then you'll be brought to the section that says PbN Payment Services. So here you're going to see we have our PbN Payments Merchant Services, and it's going to give you this option that says Connect to PbN. We're going to go ahead and click on this. And the first thing that you're going to see is it's going to say Start Onboarding. We'll click on this field, and then it's going to ask you to enter all of your information. So your business name or whatever you have it as legally on documents. You'll enter your organization type, your EIN number, your organization address. So if it's your practice address, you can enter that here and then select this as an option so that it automatically populates. And then your phone number. You'll then hit submit and you'll be taken to the next step of the settings, but just to save some time, I will show you what that looks like once you've completed it. So once you complete that section, the button will change to update information and you'll be brought to this screen. So the company details is the information you entered on that first page. You'll then be prompted to enter information on decision makers in the business. So that's what this looks like. It'll ask for the controlling person, the owner, the signatory. You can always add additional decision makers as well. So if I were to click on this, it would ask for all of this information here. We'll then go back. And then the next thing that it's going to ask is your bank account information. And this is needed so that the payments can be dispersed once a patient makes a payment. So if, for example, we have this one account already selected, I can always add an additional bank account. So I'll click here, and then it's going to give me an option to either verify it through mobile banking or to upload a bank statement. Now, if you want to upload a bank statement, one of the most important things to note is that it does have to have the legal business name somewhere on this bank statement, or it may take longer for this process to be approved. So as long as all of that information is present on the bank statement, the approval time should be much quicker. But if you use the mobile banking app, that is probably the fastest way to verify this, just since it's going to take that information directly from your bank account app already. Once you've added your bank account, it'll then ask you to sign this waiver. And then once you've signed everything, you can go back to this page. And then for time being at the beginning, you might see this being verified or in the process of being approved. Once it's been verified, then you'll be able to manage your PbN payments. So in this instance, everything here has been verified. So my next step is to go back. And then here it's going to give you a check mark next to payouts, but then you might see that there's still an X next to accept payments. So the next thing that you'll want to do is select this gear icon where it'll allow you to configure your payout. So here you'll see your payout account, which is the bank account that you entered. You'll select that, and then you'll see your surcharge rate, and then you can always configure this surcharge rate. So the max is actually 2.69. This was a previous rate that we had, but you'll see 2.69 on your end. And then you can always change that here if you don't want it to surcharge the patient that much. So you can go up to 2.69 in your case, or you can make that lower. So surcharge rate of 1%, anything like that. So you can save your changes, and then you'll want to enable this feature. Once it's enabled, then you can start using the PbN payments. So in this case, we've already configured all of this information and it's been enabled. So now we'll go to our payments page. Okay, so from the payments page, as you can see, it's going to look pretty similar to what you already see on your end. The only difference is we're going to want to make sure our settings are configured now that we have PbN payments. Here you'll have the typical settings that you have already seen if you've already been using payments. So automatically sync the payments to the patient's name and date of birth match. You'll make sure that the post payments as provider is selected. Yes, so I'll go over some of the fees at the end of this. There is an article and I will send information on what that is as well. I don't know if it's recurring payments, but it based off of what the patient pays, but I'll go through some of those fees at the very end. You'll select your post payments as provider. So whoever in that office you want to select here, you would do that. Then you would also select the payment type for posting payments made by the customer here. And then for a new feature that we're going to be releasing when it comes to payment plans and the point of sale terminals, which I'll review, we are going to have some new payment types that you can select for those options. So there'll be an option for in-office point of sale payment types, which you can then select here. And these are all going to be payment types that you've entered into your practice management software. So just keep that in mind. And then also the payment type for posting payments charged by the practice to the patient ledger. So if you make a payment for the patient through PbN, you can select a post payment type for that as well. And then check this box if you'd like to sync PMS with the payments and fees separately. That is a new option as well. And you can select that here if you have a specific way of kind of managing those collections and such. Okay. And then same thing as previous, if you were using PbN and Stripe, you'll have your payment follow-up sequence here. So any patients that meet the criteria that you set in this payment automation setting, they would then fall into this follow-up sequence. And you can add follow-ups, you can edit if it's an email or a text, whether it's just a task, and so and so. And then you have your payment automation settings here. So you can charge payment processing fee from the practice. So that would be the surcharge in this case. You can automatically send patient follow-ups, automatically add patients to the follow-up sequence if they follow the following criteria. So if this were to be toggled, then the settings here would adhere to those patients and add them to the automatic follow-up sequence. Here you can also remove patients from the follow-up sequence if their balance drops below a certain number. So you can always change that. So maybe if it drops below 50. You'll also get some red text and error notifications if for some reason something you're entering is not accurate or won't work the way as it's expected to. Here you can also select last interaction with the guarantor. You can choose not to include patients that have pending insurance claims. You can add an automation if the account holder is between any of these age ranges. You can also choose not to have certain account types added to the follow-up sequence. So from your practice management software, you can add those account types and then select them here if you want to exclude them. And you can also exclude patients via PbN tags. So any of the tags that you have created in PbN, you can select here. And as long as the patient has that tag in their profile, then they'll be excluded from the follow-up sequence, or you can include it. So if they have some of these tags, they will be included, whichever one works best for you. And then we'll go over a new feature that hasn't been released yet, but will be at a later date, which is our payment plans. So now you will also have an option to not include any accounts that have active payment plans. And that's just going to be because anyone on an active payment plan is already going to get follow-up messages in regards to that payment plan. So you can choose to not have them also receive the follow-up sequence above, just because it's going to be multiple messages and they're already following a sequence of a payment plan that is not going to necessarily need them to pay immediately, which is what this follow-up sequence kind of bases itself off of. So payment plans are just going to be a part of PbN Payments. If you already have this configured, you'll have the option to send payment plans. So it'll just be a new thing. It'll just have to be activated once we release it for the practices. All right. And then, so under our templates, this is a good place to view those messages. Pretty soon, I don't want to give a guarantee, but probably before the end of the year, we should have that launched. Yeah, you're welcome, Thomas. Okay, so your templates. These are going to be
Okay, so what was the question? Was it regarding
launching
PbN payment plan?
Yeah. Do we have a specific date?
Yeah, so we are testing it out. So most likely end of Q4 or starting of Q1, it will be
Okay.
launched.
Yeah, so hopefully December or January, around that time frame. Okay. Templates. So here in the template section, yes, so payment plans will be automatic payments with stored cards. There's going to be a couple different options, so I'll run through what that'll look like for you as well. So the templates here, we have some default payment templates. So these are going to be for all payment follow-ups with pending balances. This is what the patient will typically see unless you customize it. If you send a one-time request, that template would be here. If the payment that the patient makes is successful, that'll come up in this section. And then collections, if the patient doesn't end up paying and then they get sent to collections after the follow-up sequence, that is this template. And then here we also have an email and SMS template that goes out for the payment receipt notification. We are going to add a couple other templates here that will have the payment plan information. So it'll show the messages that go out for specific actions with the payment plans. So similar to Stripe, PbN Payments, this summary page is going to look pretty much identical. We'll have those scheduled for follow-up. So anyone here will start that payment follow-up sequence within 7 days, but you can always start that follow-up sequence sooner. Here you'll view any pending one-time payment requests. So if, for example, you just wanted to text a patient a payment request, that would be considered a pending one-time request. And then you'll enter that information here and send that off to the patient. Then you'll have those patients that are under follow-up, any patients with balances that are outstanding and maybe haven't paid yet, and then follow-up exhausted, which just means that the patient ended the follow-up sequence. They're now on this list. Maybe they still have a balance left, so you can always restart that follow-up or just send them a one-time follow-up request as well. Now, a new feature with the PbN Payments is the ability to initiate a refund to the patient. So from this payments page, you'll see all the payments that have been made. For example, these payments were made on November 1st, and then you would see the deposit date once it gets deposited to your account. If it's during business days, the deposit date is typically the day right after the payment is made. If the patient pays like on a Friday, for example, the deposit date will be the following business day. Yes, so if you have it automated already in your settings, which is this section here that we discussed, this is going to automate that follow-up sequence. All right, so then from the payments page, you're also going to see the charges that came in, the fees that you were charged at the practice, and then what you've collected. We can also filter this here. You can view by current month, last month, 7 days, last week, 30 days, 90 days, or a custom date range. You can also view it by all payments or just the unsynced payments. So any payment that hasn't necessarily synced back to your practice management software. And that's typically if that button is not selected in the settings page. So this one right here. The next thing that we also have, and this is something I'm going to send everyone after the call, which is fees. We have this button right here on the payments page that breaks down our fees. Okay, well, we made some changes. I will have to update that, but it'll look like this right here. And I'll go through that at the very end. So from here, you'll view these payments. You can also download this receipt as a PDF, or you can email the receipt to the patient. But once they've made the payment, they should already receive that receipt emailed to them. As you can see, it'll tell us the payment type, the payment amount, the PbN fee, so the fee that the practice was charged, and then what the practice nets. So PbN fee and transaction fee are going to be what the practice takes care of. And then you're going to see that net amount is what you're actually going to receive from this $100. And then you can also view here whether a surcharge was added. So in the case of this patient, there was no surcharge, but in the event of this patient's payment, there was. The next tab you'll see is your deposits. So this will just list all deposits that have been made and then how many payments were in that deposit. If I click on this symbol here, it'll bring up all of the payments that were included in this deposit so that you can verify exactly what was sent. As you can see, this was partially refunded as well, so that's listed there. But the next thing we have is our refund. So as I mentioned, this is strictly for PbN Payments. Here it'll show the refund reference ID, if the service charge, the refunded service charge, whether the refunded surcharge fee was included, and then the total refund amount. It'll then have the refund date and then the payment reference ID. So we can't print this report specifically. There might be a different action for refunds. But I can circle back with that on this for you, Manea. Because there should be a way of viewing them all, but not entirely sure how we can get that for you at this very second. So we have our refund type, which in this case is a partial refund, the status, and then if we select this icon here, okay, well, it's not showing me, but it'll give the entire breakdown of this payment. So what the patient had paid and then what was refunded. So let me try to find a patient here that we can test this with. Okay. Kevin. Yeah, so you should be able to run that report from your practice management software. But I'll try to figure out if there's an easy way to do it from PbN as well for you. Okay, I will find this a payment to check on how to do a refund shortly, but I'll go ahead and just show you what this new payment plan is going to be. Actually, let's first check here. Okay, so I'll show you what a refund looks like shortly. Typically, we would see an icon here that looks like a dollar symbol. If you click on that next to this payment, it will bring you to that refund page. And what you see on that refund page, it'll allow you to enter how much you want to refund. And then a very important thing to note is there's also going to be a section that allows you to refund the surcharge fee. Now, keep in mind, if you refund that surcharge fee, you're essentially going to be losing a little bit more than what you netted, because in this example where the surcharge is yes, if you refund this $25, this 25 cents back to the patient, you're still responsible for that 25 cents. So just keep that in mind when you're deciding whether to refund the surcharge fee. Okay, so let's get into what our payment plans are going to look like. So the first thing that you're going to see as an added option is plan options. Now here we're going to have some built-in options for you. So for example, you'll have a couple pay in full plans, and then you'll also have some installment plans. You'll know which ones are built in based off of this reset plan icon. So any built-in plan, you can always reset if you decide you want to make any changes to it. If you decide to create your own plan, that won't be able to be reset. You'll just have to edit or delete it. And that'll look like this one here. So just based off of the ones that we already have, I'll go ahead and click on, let's see, this first one here. So if I click on this, you'll see it says pay in full. Then we've given it a plan title. And then we've added our discount. So you can do a discount in a percentage or a value. For this purpose, we'll leave it at 5%. You'll then see we have a minimum and maximum percentage here. What this does is when you're creating that payment plan for the patient, it'll allow you to override this 5% so that you can modify it anywhere between 1 to 10%, depending on what you've agreed to with that patient. If you have allow override turned off, then it'll just be that 5%. And that's similarly if you want to do it as a value instead. So the discount is $5. If you want to override that, you can set that to be between maybe $1 to $20. And then when you decide to create that payment plan for the patient, you can decide at any range between 1 to 20. Okay, so we'll leave it at 5% and we'll give the option to go from 1 to 10, let's say. Now that discount appears here, it gives us that range. You can also duplicate this plan, delete it, or like I said, you can always reset it. Also, if you click on this activate, click to edit section, you can also control this payment plan. So you can show this as an option for FFS patients or show this option for patients with an attached insurance. You'll set that treatment plan range, so anywhere from $1 to $10,000. You can also exclude any of the following insurance plans and then exclude patients that have any tags. So this section right here is going to determine what kind of treatment plans will be available for this specific type of plan. And then if I want to create a new plan, it'll give me the option to do pay in full or installments. Now we have also an installment one over here. Let's take a look at that. So this 12-month installment plan with a 20% discount and a 5% management fee. This is a built-in one. It might not be the same once we release this, but just as an example, we'll do this. We'll say allow this option here. We'll put the treatment plan range to be between 1 and 10,000, and we'll click submit. This option is now active and I can edit these choices. So with the installment plan, we will give it a plan title. You'll select the number of installments, so it can be anything from 12 to 48, I believe. Actually, you can probably do this. Obviously not one installment necessarily, but anywhere from probably 2 through 48, I believe is what we were told. You can also set this at weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. You can then select the discount amount, either by percentage or value. We'll then have a management fee. And this is going to be, as you can see here, how the management fee is calculated. So if you do this management fee by percentage, it's applied to the balance after the discount and the down payment. So as an example, if there's $1,000 total cost with a $100 discount and a $200 down payment, then the management fee is applied to the remaining $700. And then we'll also have an option for total cost. So The management fee is applied to the total cost after discount, and that includes the down payment. So in this case, $1,000 with $100 discount and $200 down payment, the management fee is applied to $900. The management fee will be to the patient. And that's what you'll be able to determine in this section. And then you can also set a down payment, either by a percentage or a value. So we'll leave this as is right now, where the management fee is 5% of the remaining cost, and then the discount is 20%. Now you still have options to edit this if we have that override selected. So let's say I want it to be available for everything. I'll do allow override for the discount. I can do allow override for the management fee. Set that maybe 1 to 6. And then I can even do that here. But we'll leave the down payment off for now, just so that you can see what it looks like. Okay, so now I have one plan that we've looked at that's payment in full, and then one that's as an installment plan. Here you can also view it by any active plans, so any of these that are activated. If you decide to toggle any of these off, you can filter it by inactive ones. So you see we have none now. And then you can create a new plan if you'd like as well. The next section that you're going to see is the payment plans management. So once you've sent off a payment plan, you'll view the active payment plan balance here. Any accepted plans, so anything that's in progress will show here. And then anything that, if a patient's payment, let's say they're on their second payment, it fails, it'll move into this retrying balance field. And what this is going to do is it's going to, based on some settings that you'll have in the settings page here. Let's see if I have it available already. Yeah, okay. So I'll come back to this in just a second. So based on some changes in the settings, it'll retry charging the patient a couple of times before it then moves the patient into a delinquent plans balance. And then from here, from all of these sections, you'll be able to kind of make some modifications to those plans. So surcharge maximum is 2.69, and then you can edit that anything up to 2.69 if you'd like. So with the payment plans, it's set up a little bit differently because it's going to take into account those discounts, the management fee, all of that's going to be a part of that. And then once the patient has fully paid their payment plan, it'll go into this archive section. Now, in the settings, you're also going to see a new section called payment plan settings. So here, number of times we should retry a patient's card on file before marking the payment delinquent. So we'll give you the option for 1 to 5 attempts, and then the payment moves into that delinquent category. Which would be this. Now, as I mentioned before, we have the option here in the payment automation, that payment follow-up sequence, to not include any active patients on the payment plan. And that is because, as you can see here, they will get updates when they make a payment, when their payment plan is created, and then they'll also get updates when their card has failed. So in this case, we have it set to 3 attempts. So after the 3 attempts of trying the patient's card, they'll be moved into that delinquent category, and then they'll start the follow-up sequence here. So similarly to the follow-up sequence above, you can edit any of these. You can make it less than 5, you can make it more than 5. You can create a task for your employees to follow up. You can edit whether an email's received or a text is received, etc. And then here you'll have the option to select the post-payment type for payment plans as well. And then you can also select whether any payments made from the payment plan are automatically added to the patient's ledger in your practice management software. And then down below here will be the payment plan agreement. So whenever you get ready to send a patient a payment plan, it will look a little like this. So we're going to choose this patient here. We'll select treatment. And then we're going to see their treatment plan. And it looks like they owe a total of $1,885.25. Down below, their treatment plan. Sorry, this is not included. Give me a second. Seem to be running into some technical difficulties showing how that payment plan gets set up. But I'll be sure to send some screenshots of what it looks like. What I do have though is what it looks like for the patient. So when the payment plan gets sent through the treatment plan setting, you'll have a drop down based off of what the plan options are. So like for example, this installment plan will show to anyone that has a range of $1 to $10,000. You'll see a drop down where you can select which payment plan. If you have multiple payment plans, you can select all of them, but the payment plan itself will only choose the 3 best options for that patient. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have these 5 treatment plans selected once we've pulled up the patient's treatment plan. It's only going to select the 3 best options that make sense for the patient. So what that looks like would be like this. The patient would go to their patient portal and they'll view the 3 best options that they have. So in this case, for this patient, it was the 20% discount when paid in full, a 24-month installment with a 10% discount, or a 12-month installment with a 10% discount and 5% management fee. It'll give that breakdown. So the treatment cost, the discount of 10%, the discounted amount, which is $900, the management fee, which is $45, and then the total plan amount. And then down here, it will give them that payment schedule. So $945, 12 installments at $78.75. I apologize, it's a little blurry, but that's what that says there. And then it'll give them their savings at the bottom. For this one, it's a little bit different. So it gives them that treatment cost of $1,000, the discount of $100, and then the discounted amount $900 with the plan amount at $900. Installments of 24, which brings their installment amount to $37.50. And then they have this 20% discount if they pay it in full. So $1,000 is their treatment cost with a $200 off, bringing them to $800 if they choose this. The next thing they'll see is they can select either from any Amex or any credit card that they have already saved in the payments methods, or they can add a new one. And then they'll have this payment plan agreement, which is going to come from the information in this section here. So that's the payment plan. I will send some additional screenshots on some of the information that I couldn't share with you right this second over the call, but I'll make sure you get that over email. I then also wanted to show you when it comes to refunds, there are things, notifications that you'll get if for some reason there's an issue with the patient's card, if there's an issue with like a chargeback and whatnot. So you'll get some emails to your practice depending on the status. So for example, if there's something fraudulent, you'll get an action needed notification such as this, and it just tells you how to go about that. So it will be from that treatment plan area, but you can always edit the information. It's a little bit hard because it's not working for me right this second. Let me see if I can get it back up. Mhm. Okay, here we go. This is exactly what I wanted to show you. So it has to be sent from the treatment plan. I can get clarification because we might be updating some things. Like I said, this is all still very much in a demo testing phase. But once you go to the patient's treatment plan, you'll have the option to select how much the treatment plan payment plan should be. So let's say this patient in particular owes 2,000. We'll go ahead and select 2,000 here. Next, we can see all of the payment plan options that we currently have. I can select the 3 that I want already, or you can select all. And then you can see it's going to give you this note that says if you select more than 3 plans, it'll automatically choose the best 3. So here you have all of the plan options, and then you can make changes. So for these 2 payment plans, we chose that override feature. So I can change this from anywhere between 1 and I believe I put 10. Yeah. So you see between 1 and 10. Similar to that feature here, I allowed the discount to be changed between 1 and 20, I believe. Yeah, so you can override that here if it's white. Anything here means that's grayed out, means that the override feature is turned off. So this is what it will look like. You'll put the plan name here, and then you'll send it off to the patient. And then once they get that link, it'll bring them to this screen here. Any questions about payment plans before I get into some of the surcharge fees? Okay. So I will be sending this article as well via email, but this is a quick breakdown of what the transaction fee structure is and how the surcharging works. So down here we have a chart that breaks this information down, so and uses some examples as well. So if a patient pays online with a credit card, let's say they've paid $100 and the fees itself are always gonna be 2.9%, but the max surcharge rate can only be 2.69. So in this case, the patient pays online with a credit card. Their payment is $100. The fee is 2.9% plus 30 cents. A surcharge is applied to the patient, and that surcharge is 2.69%. So the patient is being charged that $100 with $2.69 as the surcharge paid by the patient. So that brings the total for the patient to $102.69. And then the total transaction fee to $3.28. So that takes into account that extra 0.21 plus the 30 cents, bringing the total transaction fee to $3.28. And then you can view that breakdown of what the practice receives. So the patient is charged $100. The practice ends up paying 59 cents, totaling your net to be $99.41. For debit cards, there is no surcharge, so the practice does have to take on that surcharge fee. So if the patient pays online using a debit card, it'll be the patient pays that $100, but the practice is going to be responsible for the entirety of the 2.9% and 30 cents. So as you can see here, the practice is responsible for that $3.20, bringing that net to $96.80. With Amex, it's slightly different. So Amex credit cards have a 3.4% and 30-cent fee. So if you apply a surcharge to the patient of 2.69, then your practice ends up paying, out of $122 that the patient pays, the practice ends up paying $1.28, netting $120.72. If there is no surcharge fee for the patient, then the practice ends up paying $4.45. And then card present is if you have a terminal at the office, so the point of sale terminal that I'll briefly go over as well. If the patient pays with a credit card in the office, then the max is a 2.69% surcharge with 30 cents. So as you can see, it's similar to this first one where the patient's paid online, but you only pay a little bit less. You pay a little bit less. So in the event of $100 payment, you're only responsible for 37 cents if you are surcharging that patient the 2.69%. And then when it comes to debit cards that are paid in office, that surcharge fee drops to $1.50 with 25 cents. So the patient, in this case, isn't surcharged anything since it is a debit card, but the practice is only going to pay $1.75 as opposed to that $3.20. So that's the breakdown of the fees there. There's some additional information in this article, which I will send to you to review. In this article, we also have a calculator where you can easily enter that information here and kind of verify. So if a patient is going to pay $1,000 with a debit card using a terminal, then this would be what practice pays. So just something to use if you want to quickly determine what some fees might be. Next, as far as terminals, down here at the bottom of the page, we have a payments plan option, or not payments plan, but a payments tab button where you can quickly charge patients. We are updating the layout, so if you look at your payments button now, it's going to look a little bit different than this, but basically it's going to look It's just gonna have it laid out differently, but you'll have the same information, so you can charge a patient directly. You'll enter the amount that you want to charge them and then select charge. If it's a non-patient, so just a payer or someone that's a guarantor, you'd enter their information here. We then have pending balance requests. So if I search for a patient, it's automatically going to populate their pending balance. And you can then send this off, this request to them, or you can do a custom amount where I can edit this. And then here you can also manage payments. So you'll search for the patient. You can view all of their saved payment methods, what their default card is. You can delete the card and you can add a new one. Similarly, if you are going to charge a patient, as you can see here, it gives me all of their cards listed here. Now, if you also have a terminal at the office, it'll give you the option to choose that terminal for payment. I'll send some articles and screenshots of what it looks like in this section, but it'll allow you to charge the patient to a terminal from here as well. And right now we offer 2 terminals. So we have an S1, F2 terminal. And that's going to look like this. So using this one, it does come with a receipt paper as well. So if you wanted to print receipts in the office, and then we also offer a P400 terminal, I believe it's called. I'll look for that one for you, but it's a similar terminal, just slightly different, and it doesn't have a receipt paper, but they work pretty much the same. Let's see here. Sorry, we made some changes that I need to update. And we have some videos, so I'll show you how to charge a patient as well. But with the terminals, pretty easy. In the settings as well, if we go back to this PbN Payments Merchant Services section, I can click on this here. And then I will also view terminal information in this section, which I'll send some additional screenshots with what that looks like, since I don't physically have a terminal right now to demonstrate with, but I will make sure to send all of that information over to you on terminals. Any questions about anything we've covered today so far? I know there's been a lot that we covered, but this webinar will be available on the Learning Center. I will also send it via email along with a lot of relevant information about what we've gone over.
The only message which I wanted to give was, if anybody has not used our PbN new payments and you want to use it, you can go to the support page and block time with the CSM for a demo. And, we can do the demo and we can talk through the rates as well.
Yeah, so from your page directly, as Veer has mentioned, go to the support page here. You'll see who your customer success manager is, and you can schedule a call with them. You can also contact our support via email or phone or chat within the PBN page. But like, if you have any other questions, just go ahead and respond back to the email that I'll send later this afternoon, and we'll go from there. But I hope everyone starts using PBN payments. It's definitely gonna save you money in some of those fees that you're seeing, but any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out.